Let's go ahead and get this scenario set up. The first thing we want to do is open up ITGRU. Gonna move these back down into the frame here. Go ahead and click through the software license agreement. Click File, New, and go ahead and choose Project. And you can name it whatever you want. For the purpose here, I would just call it Lab 3. And name the scenario Hub. So first we're going to make a network with a hub in the center. Click OK. Go ahead and create an empty scenario. Choose the Office Network Scale. Go ahead and leave the size units just the default that they show up. And then when it asks you to select the technologies that you want to use, scroll down the list and look for Ethernet. Click to change that to a yes and click Next. Go ahead and click OK to agree to all the parameters we set up, and our initial scenario loads. So go ahead and close the palette window because we're going to be using the rapid configuration tool the same way that we used it in lab number 1. So I'll go up and click the topology list and click rapid configuration. We're going to choose a star configuration. Go ahead and click OK. For the center node model, choose Ethernet 16 hub. For the periphery node, use the Ethernet station. We're going to use 16 stations, so we'll fill up the hub. And for the link model, choose 10 base T. For the placement, use 50 for your X and Y values. We're going to be centering this right in the middle of our grid. And for the radius, I like to use 25, but you could kind of use anywhere between 25 and 40 probably and get away with it. So go ahead and click OK, and it's going to create a star topology with our hub right in the center. So let's go ahead and configure these a little bit. Right click the hub, click Edit Attributes, and just change the name to Hub. Go ahead and click OK to close. Now what you want to do is we want to configure each one of our workstations to generate traffic. But in this case, unlike the lab number 1, we're not going to be using the application configuration and the profile configuration. So this application definition icon, where we configured the applications, then we tied them to a profile and then applied the profile to the workstation, we're not going to be doing that because we don't want necessarily traffic that's going to be like HTTP or email. What we want to do is tightly control the traffic that we're generating, because we're trying to generate a constant flow of traffic from each of these workstations across the hub. And then we're going to duplicate the scenario and replace the hub with a switch so that we can compare results from our tests and see which one performed better. Now we know from the lab guide that the switch is going to be performing better, but we're going to take a look at the stats we get and see why. So the first thing that we want to do is select one of the workstations. It could be any of them. Right click it and choose the option for Select Similar Nodes. All our workstations will become selected. This will make it easy. Then once we have all of our workstations selected, right click one, click Edit Attributes, and down at the bottom check the box that says Apply Changes to Selected Objects. This means that any changes that we make here are going to automatically be applied to the rest of the workstations. So expand the hierarchy for traffic generation parameters, and then expand the hierarchy for packet generation arguments. We're going to change a few settings in here. For the on state time, change it to exponential 100. Click OK. For the off state time, switch it to exponential 0. This means that our workstations will be on and generating traffic for the full duration of the scenario as it runs, and there never be any off time, so they'll be constantly generating packets. Under the packet generation arguments, change the inter-arrival time to 0.02. Click OK. And for the packet size, change it from uniform to constant and place 1500 for the value. Constant 1500. This means that every 0.02 seconds, each of the workstation is going to be generating a 1500 packet, or a 1500 byte packet and sending it out. When we do, and then just go ahead and click OK to close. Basically what we're doing is we're just telling each of these workstations to generate 1500 byte packets and just send them out across the network. They'll be sending and receiving sort of randomly. It's just a way to generate packets to go across our little network here. And the next thing that we want to do is we want to select what statistics we want to gather before we duplicate the scenario. So the first thing I want to do is right click the hub and select Choose Individual Statistics. Expand Ethernet and put a check next to Collision Count. Click OK to close. Then just right click anywhere off to the side and click Choose Individual Statistics. And in the window that pops up, expand Global Statistics and expand the tree underneath that, and put a check mark next to Ethernet delay, traffic sync, traffic received in packets per second, and traffic source, traffic sent in packets per second. Go ahead and click OK to close. Now what we want to do is we want to duplicate the scenario and replace the hub with a switch. So go up to Scenarios, click Duplicate Scenario, and make this a new scenario called Switch. Click OK. Now you'll see that we have two scenarios and we're working with switch here. So instead of deleting the switch and having to create a bunch of new connections, all we need to do is right click the hub, click Edit Attributes, change the name to Switch, and then where the model says Ethernet 16 hub, click that and it'll pull down a list, and we want to switch it to Ethernet 16 switch. Go ahead and click OK to close, and now our hub has changed to a switch. And that's pretty much it. We're all configured. So we've got two scenarios, one with the hub and one with the switch, and we have statistics that are going to be gathered on each of the networks as soon as we run them. So in the next segment of the video, we're going to be running these scenarios, pulling the statistics, and we'll take a look at it and see which network performed better, and we'll talk about why.